Hi. Salsky and Smith talks a little bit about downsizing, and in they provided what they called a management perspective on downsizing, but I think that's only part of the picture. So I would like to add a different perspective on the subject, and I have documentation for everything, so it'll be in the transcript that's posted. Downsizing has certainly been a popular strategy. It's been used widely since the mid 80s, and from 87 to 91, 85% of Fortune 1000 companies downsized over 5 million jobs. Between 79 and 99, that 20-year period, there was more than 43 million jobs downsized. More recent figures between '07 and 2010, over 8 million jobs were downsized. So there's certainly a lot of record for this. The results of downsizing, I like Cassio's statement, downsizing begets more downsizing. One of the things he found is companies that tend to downsize, it leads to more downsizing. And in a survey he did, only 46% of companies were able to show reduced expenses, and fewer than 1 in 3 said their profits increased as much as they had expected. Only 21% of the companies reported satisfactory improvements in return on investment. And gains in stock prices were only short term, usually right around the announcement time, and then they fell again. The late Russell Acuff provided a stakeholder view of the firm, which focused on the exchange of money for work with employees, for goods and services with suppliers, and goods and services with customers. Also, exchange of money received at an earlier time for money paid at a later time with investors and lenders, and an exchange of money for the use of services and facilities from a source which exercises some control of the corporation, such as the government. I like Acuff's systemic view of the firm, where the organization is part of a larger system which would be called the national or world economy, and the purpose is to create economy. Therefore, downsizing shrinks economy and means that it's an irresponsible act of management, because it has to be due to either poor foresight or planning, or poor judgment in growing the organization to the size that led to downsizing. I remember I was at a conference in 1994 at the OD Network when Acuff came out with a video that was popular, as being shown there, and it created quite a stir. I'd like to offer some causes for what caused it to start with. I think one of the causes was Hammer wrote a book on reengineering that was really popular. It sold over 2 million copies, and as you can see in a 94 survey, over 1,000 firms identified reengineering as their top strategy for change or improvement. So it was their first thing they would do. Champy was the first to notice that Hammer left out entirely the people side of change, and Champy tried to correct this with a 95 book on reengineering, but the damage had already been done. So I think that was one cause. I think an even bigger cause. Bill Clinton gave an interview to C-SPAN's Book TV on his book Back to Work recently, and he talked about a '93 congressional act that limited CEO compensation to $1 million in wages. And the result of this was it shifted CEO compensation to stocks, and as a result, some stakeholders, such as CEO and shareholders, really became higher valued than other stakeholders, such as workers or communities. And Bill Clinton said this was an unintended consequence, and one that he would change if he was currently president. Problem was, though, it wasn't changed. So the Cambridge economist Chang wrote in his book that this formed what he called, depending upon how you looked at it, either the Holy Grail or an unholy alliance between shareholders and CEOs. And what CEOs were doing, they were increasing shareholder value, and they were doing this at the expense of employees and communities, and with the expectation that shareholders would increase CEO compensation. Chang's research reported between 1950s and 70s that shareholder value was around 35 to 45% as an average, and now today it's up to 60%. He also talked about Jack Welch of GE actually pioneering this process through that the GE workout process, and basically it relied on job enlargement and downsizing to increase shareholder value. And of course he did this with the idea that he would be compensated in return, and which he was. When he retired, his retirement package was so lucrative that there was outrage in response to it. The human costs of downsizing have also been studied, and it's probably no surprise that among the first to be downsized are older employees with pre-existing health conditions, and they were also the most likely to be unable to find work. There was changes in work, social relationships, and health reported of both stayers and leavers, and survivors with higher rates of absenteeism due to illness. Job enlargement was a result, a sense of job insecurity, and low trust with management. This is with stayers. In conclusion, I would say that this has been a 30-plus year strategy, and it tends to benefit organizations, certainly not workers, certainly not communities, and it doesn't even seem to be sustainable. It has increased stress for both leavers and stayers, and it's really made job security a myth today. I think as an alternative, there's a need for productive improvement strategies that are sustainable, and they do exist. When workers are approached as a valued stakeholder and engaged in improvement processes, it tends to improve the organization bottom line in a way that's sustainable over time. And not only that, it's a partnership between organizations, workers, and communities, and it makes for a much better strategy. I used quite a few references in this lecture, and you can see I have all these in the transcript, and along with links where some of these, just like for example Bill Clinton's interview, that link's still available. You can go online and watch that interview. Let me see. I've got the Hammer and the Champy books here too, and let me see. And the last, so anyway, there's been quite a bit of research on this today, and it's the textbooks only tend to give the point of view from management as a stakeholder, and they leave out the worker and the community point of view. Thanks.